heard of Pope Francis's illness, I say a prayer for the Holy Father because while, yes, I was certainly surprised when he criticized our immigration policy in the way that he has, I also know that I believe that the Pope is fundamentally a person who cares about the flock of Christians under his leadership. And he's the man who cares about the spiritual direction of the faith. And I say this because every day, me and my children have said a prayer for the Holy Father. And we pray for his health, and we pray for his comfort as he deals with what appears to be a pretty serious health crisis. And while, yes, some of our media and some of our social media influencers, and even some of us fellow Catholics, I think try to bring the Holy Father into every culture war battle in American politics, I will always remember the Holy Father, whether he makes its way through this illness, and I certainly hope that he does. I will always remember the Holy Father in March of 2020, at a time of incredible stress for really the entire world. Remember, that was the height of the COVID pandemic. None of us knew how bad it was. We heard reports from Italy of people dying en masse on ventilators, and personally, I had just a few weeks earlier welcomed our second child into the world. And so when the COVID pandemic happened, I had a 3-week-old baby at home, and I went to Dick's Sporting Goods, and I bought 900 rounds of ammunition. And then I went to Walmart, and I bought 2 bags of rice. And I sat at home with my bags of rice and my 900 rounds of ammunition and said, all right, we're just going to wait this thing out. And into that void, when a lot of people didn't know how bad it was, and of course, thankfully, the pandemic was not as bad as the very worst predictions. It was quite bad, but not as bad as the very worst predictions. I think all of us can remember that moment of the Holy Father standing in an empty St. Peter's Square, holding the Eucharist above his head, and giving a sermon that I return to consistently because it was incredibly meaningful to me at the time, and it remains meaningful.